Welcome to the Vault podcast, where emotions are unlocked, perceptions are reshaped, and mastery begins. I'm Noctis, and I hope you all chose the right emotion for the day today. Today's question is, how do you respond when life's circumstances trigger an unwanted emotion? Do you let it control you, or do you control it? Before we dive into today's topic, let's take a moment to really think about the nature of emotions. We often assume that emotions are something that just happens to us, something we can't control. They're like waves that hit us without warning, sometimes calm, other times overwhelming. We feel them, we react, and then we move on, right? But what if I told you that emotions are more like choices than reactions? That the way we experience an emotion is, in part, something we can influence, not just passively endure. Let's break it down a bit more. Imagine you're walking down the street and someone cuts you off in traffic. Your first instinct is likely anger or frustration. But here's the thing. You didn't choose to feel angry, right? Or did you? This is where emotional intelligence comes in. Emotional intelligence isn't just about being aware of your emotions. It's about learning to choose your response to those emotions, how you let them influence your thoughts, your actions, and your life. What if the real trigger wasn't just the car cutting you off, but how you decided to interpret it? Maybe in that moment you thought, this person is disrespecting me, they're ruining my day. And that's when the anger is born. This is where emotional intelligence comes in. Emotional intelligence isn't just about being aware of your emotions. It's about learning to choose your response to those emotions, how you let them influence your thoughts, your actions, and your life. So when something triggers you, instead of just reacting, you take a step back. You give yourself the space to acknowledge the feeling without immediately acting on it. You ask yourself, do I want to feel this way right now? And if not, how can I change my response? It's about breaking the chain of automatic reactions and introducing mindfulness into your emotional experiences. Take anger, for example. Instead of letting anger control you, you can practice something simple, like taking 3 deep breaths before responding. In those 3 breaths, you've created a pause, an opportunity for you to choose how you want to show up in the world. That's emotional intelligence in action. Take anger, for example. Instead of letting anger control you, you can practice something simple, like taking 3 deep breaths before responding. In those 3 breaths, you've created a pause, an opportunity for you to choose how you want to show up in the world. That's emotional intelligence in action. Here's another key part of this process. Our memories and perceptions shape the emotions we experience. Imagine you've had a bad experience with a certain situation in the past. Maybe you were betrayed by someone you trusted, and now whenever a similar situation arises, you immediately feel hurt, anger, or sadness. What's happening here is that your brain is using that past memory as a shortcut to determine your emotional response. It's your mind's way of saying, I remember how this felt before, so this is how I should feel now. But what if you could change that? What if you could change the meaning of those memories, not by denying what happened, but by choosing a new lens through which to view them? Instead of seeing a betrayal as a reason for anger, you might choose to see it as a lesson about trust or a catalyst for personal growth. You might realize that what you're feeling now isn't actually about the present moment, but a replay of past hurts that no longer need to control you. By reshaping how you perceive your memories, you're changing the emotional responses tied to them. You're shifting your power back into your hands. At this point, it's important to emphasize that emotional mastery isn't about suppressing or ignoring your emotions. It's about choosing how to respond to them. Every emotion, no matter how uncomfortable, is an opportunity for growth. Imagine that you have a vault inside you, filled with your emotional experiences, beliefs, and responses. The key to unlocking this vault isn't forcing the door open with willpower. It's about understanding the emotions that live inside you and learning to choose which ones you want to activate and when. This kind of mastery takes practice. It takes self-awareness, reflection, and patience. But the more you practice, the easier it becomes to navigate your emotions with confidence, rather than letting them overwhelm you. So here's your challenge for the week. When you feel an emotion rising inside you, especially one you don't want to feel, pause. Take a deep breath and ask yourself, is this how I want to feel right now? What other emotions could I choose in this moment? Try to become aware of the emotions you're experiencing and then think about the power you have to shift them. Can you choose peace over anger? Can you choose calm over anxiety? Every time you make this choice, you're becoming more emotionally intelligent. As you go through your day, practice the art of emotional mastery. You'll start noticing how quickly you can shift your mindset and how much control you truly have over your emotional state. And that's all for today's episode of the Vault podcast. I hope you feel a little more empowered to take control of your emotions and see them as choices, not reactions. Remember, emotional mastery isn't about being perfect, it's about being mindful and making intentional choices. Until next time, keep unlocking your vault and mastering your emotions.